All right, it's Eric here with Impactt Fitness with my man Dutch. We're going to go over a couple banded distraction exercises, tips, and tricks to help free up your hips, your ankles, your hamstrings, all of that. So what he does, he has a band that's anchored low here, step in, and then getting right to the hip crease. We got to get right to the hip crease because that's the joint we're going to try to mobilize. So what I'm going to have Dutch do is we're going to go down. He's going to turn sideways facing the camera, step back into the deepest lunges he can, often called a wide climber. Everybody's mobility is a little different. What I want you to do is let that back knee drop on the ground, and then you're trying to sink your hips into the ground as much as you can. Start on your hands here, and then as that band's trying to pull your hips out, just allow that knee to come out as far as you can to open up your hips, your groin, your adductors. And as you get more comfortable or more mobile, we'll have you go down to an outside forearm or an inside forearm or both. And just breathe out here. Really try to let that band take the hip outwards. Again, pushing that knee out here. Nice. So as you get comfortable, you can spend breaths here. You can spend a minute here. Just whatever feels good. You can ease into it. The further out, the more you're stretching. Now, that is great, again, for the internal part of the hips, getting you able to sink down into that squat a little deeper, having an easier time tracking your knees out. We're going to progress right from here into the glutes and the outside portion of the hip by dropping that leg down, rotating inward into that pigeon stretch, all the while sinking here. Now, holding this position, I'm sure he feels that through the glute as it is. But when we're here, what I want you to try to do is rock your butt towards the ground. Yes, rock your hips into the ground. You feel that stretching more. And holding there. Again, we can hold iso or we can rock back and forth. I would just suggest doing a little bit of everything and seeing what feels good. Try to grease the groove, feel the corners. Again, breaths here, 30 seconds to a minute. Then what we're going to do is we're going to stand up tall. We're all on the same leg here. We're going to face forward. Again, that band is still up high into the seam of the hip. We're going to have that banded leg lean forward. Short stance distance here as if we're going to power through the track. Reaching down towards your toes. Now, here's the motion. I'm going to allow Dutch to drive his knee forward over to his toes, and then pull that knee straight back. Oh, you see it shaking. This is not a joke. Really isolating those hamstrings. We can do reps here, 5, 10. You can just hold that hamstring until it feels somewhat okay or decent. I say that as a joke. Lastly, on this one, what we like is once we hit that lengthened hamstring, so go ahead and stretch that hamstring out, Dutch. Now I want you to wiggle your hips side to side, corner to corner, as if you were wagging your tail. And then what you're going to see is you'll start to find it goes from the hamstring up into the glute to the low back on the opposite side. Again, the mission here is trying to free up the hips as a whole. Now, last thing we'll do is we talked about the ankles. Let's just take that band all the way to the front side of the ankle. You're going to walk that foot again forward. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work. So keep walking that foot forward, right is forward. Then once you get there, we're going to drop the left one down into a lunge. And I'm going to have Dutch go ahead and just try to drive his knee as far over his toe as he can, all the while trying to keep the heel intact with the floor. That way we get a greater stretch through the Achilles, through the soleus, into the calf. A lot of times in the squats, we find those heels coming off the ground. We're unable to keep the heels planted down due to ankle mobility. So driving the knee over the toe. You can go side to side here as well, because the way that ankle joint is, we want to make sure we get into all the corners here. Nice. You can rock forward and back. And hold for time or complete some reps. So give these 3 movements a try, whether in your warm-up or after you work out, before you squat, before you lunge, before you hinge. Do both sides and let us know how you feel.